Hi, everybody. Welcome to Talking the Way Home. We're so excited to be talking about the finale of season three. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes.
The big finale is going to be so fun and hear what everybody thinks about it. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner. Kristen is here.
I'm so excited to talk about this finale
Yes.
with you. And we got season four already confirmed.
Yes. Very exciting. We just got the announcement yesterday, I think it was, that yes, we got a season four, which isn't like a huge surprise, but sometimes Hallmark can really drag out these. Sometimes they don't even make the announcement at all, and you're just kind of like, oh, okay, I guess there's a new season.
This feels like a no-brainer show
Yeah,
to keep going. It's so popular. The fan theories, the fact that
yeah.
everyone's talking about it all the time, I think that they definitely have a winner. So I'm
Yeah, I think
getting
so.
another
It,
season.
it it only seems to be growing in popularity and
Mhm.
expanding their audience. So I think yeah, definitely. I mean, especially if they're like if they're doing a Chicken Sisters season two, like which I didn't care for, but and just like nobody was talking about that at all. So if you're gonna renew one, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, let us know what you think about that. And I wonder how, I mean, I just wonder in general, like how much is this planned? And did they give the writers like a we'll probably renew it? Or do you think that the writers are just guessing?
Well,
Or do
I
you think
feel
they
like
will?
most of the shows on Hallmark, right, get like there aren't that many shows, so like the ones that
Yeah.
have like get picked up, right?
Yeah, I think yeah, like even on Hallmark Plus, the Mistletoe Murders that got renewed.
Oh my God.
Um I'm trying to think of there was When Hope Calls that only got one season, but then it moved over to Great American Family. And so now it's getting a second season like 4 years later. That's the only one though I can think of. I mean, I guess technically Signed Sealed Delivered only got one season, but then
Mhm.
it turned into a movie series, not a TV series. So
Okay. Well, they always
they
do something.
yeah.
Like
So
I remember even
they've done like 15 movies. So
like The Good Witch had like a million movies and then a million seasons.
yeah, it's kind of the
Like
reverse.
like let's do that with The Way Home. Oh my God,
Yeah.
imagine if they gave us like
Oh my
a movie like
gosh.
in between seasons or something.
You know what would be really fun is if they did like a Christmas movie with the Way Home Christmas
Oh, that'd
special.
be so cute. Okay, we're pitching that.
Yeah.
We put
Yeah.
us
And
on
then, like
the team.
what if Alice and Kat celebrated Christmas in every era? They just kept
Oh,
going
that'd
back in the park.
be cute.
Yeah. There you
Wait.
go. Ultimate Hallmark idea.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
It
you're
came from here.
welcome. You're welcome. Well, this finale, it's called If You Could Read My Mind. And it's the three Landry women finally get answers to questions about the past, present, and future, but a shocking discovery will propel them to search for more. So, I guess overall, how did you feel about this finale? Did
I
you feel
loved
like it
it.
was is a good one?
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I there was so many moments that I think we've been waiting for, but also some things that like I wasn't expecting. And you know, I still think that there's more questions though that we need answers to.
Uh-huh.
So it just is like season four. I'm ready for that
Yeah. Yeah.
now.
I liked it too. I watched it twice just to make sure that I kind of trying to catch every detail.
Hmm.
And I just think this show is so much fun to it's like an old watercolor it's like an old water cooler show that you want to talk to people about. Oh, did you see that? Or did you what do you think of that? Or what do you and so it's just fun. I can't think of a show that's quite had that for me at least in a long time.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple shows on now that I see it, but I don't know if Hallmark Channel has had that, which is
No,
cool to
definitely not
see.
Hallmark.
But I feel like School Spirits, people have, another
Oh,
Spencer McPherson show, people have been theorizing all season, which has been fun. Severance, I don't even watch that one, but I my whole
oh
timeline is
yeah.
just all the theories and people, talking about it every week.
Yeah.
Um, But for Hallmark, this is, I
Yeah,
think,
I mean, the
one to.
closest that they've gotten on Hallmark would be something like When Calls the Heart, Team Lucas versus Team Nathan, and who's she gonna pick? And there was like that kind of maybe a little discussion and debate, but like that's pretty tame compared to everything all the questions and all the everything that's going on with this one. And so it's very fun. And I'm glad that it's on Hallmark because I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise just because I just don't watch that much television. So
Mhm.
as far as I watch movies, but I don't watch that much TV. So
Mm.
I probably would have missed it if it wasn't on Hallmark and I didn't have to cover it. So yay.
I would have found it. The minute I saw time travel, I was like, oh, I'm in. I'm in.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Well, so this episode, it starts out uh with Alice. They're back to September 2023, her first time. Adult Colton remembers seeing Alice as a teen. And so we've got sort of that starting this relationship between between Alice and adult Colton going
Mhm.
on here this episode. And he says, "You're the same Alice, you're a time traveler." That he had talked to.
Like,
And
oh, like saying that he knows who she is from
yeah,
he was a teen. Yes, yes, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
you're the same Alice, you're a time traveler.
Hmm.
And then they have this whole conversation. Alice won't have the answers. Tell me something more. And she says, "You and Evelyn are special, magic. I'll never forget them." And then Colton, uh, and then she leaves. So she can't tell him more. And later on, they have another conversation where she tells him that she's his granddaughter.
Oh, that was so cool. I
Yeah.
was so happy that she finally told him the truth because episode I was like, just tell him. He already told you he's a time traveler. Just tell him you are too. Tell him who you are. The
Yeah.
fact that like we got that moment where she gets to be like, I'm your granddaughter. Because he like didn't know who she was,
Uh-huh.
and he's like remembering her, but like still not like fully knowing the context, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, like just imagining being like, oh, I met this person when I was a teenager, and then I met them as an adult, and they were a time travel. Wait, but they weren't just a time traveler. That was my granddaughter. Like, what a reveal.
Yeah. Well, plus it gives him hope
Mhm.
of that Jacob is still out there
Yeah.
and gives him some hope that at least I think he knows that now that Jacob wasn't like abducted,
Yes.
which is
Yeah.
got to be comforting, to know that your
Yeah.
little boy. Alice, are you my
Interesting.
granddaughter? And then we find out that the pawn never worked for Colton again after the two times that he'd gone in. But then of course we see him try again once he
Yeah.
knows this information and it works. So
Yeah. That was cool to see because I feel like we've been thinking the whole show that Colton knows everything, that he, must be the keeper of all these secrets, and know all the secrets of the pond, basically. And I feel like even this whole season, Dell's been like, I can't believe he didn't tell me this, he didn't tell me that. And it's like, that's because he didn't really actually do anything. Like, I mean, he
Yeah.
went twice and then he never went again.
Well, and also like he believes that he screwed it up by
Yeah.
telling the people to plant the rye. He believes that he like ruined everything.
Yeah. When really he saved everybody.
Yeah.
So I
And
thought that was cool to see that he doesn't know everything either, that he's still, they're all still figuring out. The person I think that knows the most is probably Grandma Fern.
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, and that is at the wedding, Grandma Fern.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
wild. That was wild. It's hard because this episode jumps around a lot, so it's a little discombobulating to talk about it. So y'all
Yeah.
have to forgive me. But yeah, at the wedding, she talks to Kat,
Yeah.
and yeah, which was definitely interesting. Just says to Kat, "You just always liked the nickname Kitty. That's something to look forward to."
That
65 in 25, she says.
Yeah, that makes me think that maybe in season 4 we could go to the 20s and maybe see Kat and a young Grandma Fern hanging out.
Oh, okay. Because I
That's
was like, well, the 65, that's when
They fell in the
they,
pond.
they almost closed up the pond and the
Yeah.
whole council meeting and testifying and everything. But I was like, what's the 25? What does that mean?
We're going to the 20s. That would be I don't know
Uh,
if we are, but that would be
yeah,
cool.
that
And
would be cool.
when I talked to Spencer McPherson this season, I was asking him like if Jacob could go anywhere, like what do you think would be a fun time period that he would want to go to? And he said the 20s, which he could have just been saying that for fun, but
Yeah.
could have been revealing a secret.
It would actually be very easy for Hallmark if they wanted to do that because right now When Calls the Heart is set in the 20s. So they already have all the, stuff. So that would actually make it very affordable to
Ooh.
do. Yeah. So
First theory of this episode is
yeah.
that we're going to the 20s in season 4.
Yeah. So Kat is reading Alice in Wonderland. It's kind of weird. Her name is Alice, like the story. And then her dad says, well, the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, there's really been a lot of parallels to Alice in
Mhm.
Wonderland. And
Yeah. So she thought, do you think when she named Alice Alice, she thought she was naming her after the friend or naming her after Alice in Wonderland?
Hmm. I don't know. M- uh,
Um,
maybe both. I mean, the Alice in
yeah.
Wonderland books has been important to them for a while. Like even Colton had those books. So maybe it was something that it was like, oh, you know,
I'd love to get a conversation uh in next season with Brady and Kat and them having this conversation about the name.
about naming Alice.
I would be curious about that. That would be interesting to be like, why are we naming this our daughter after this random person that that we knew? Uh, and not like our parents or, something like that.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, a good scene to have. But yeah, it's interesting because we haven't gotten very much of young Kat. I think we're just supposed to assume that she hasn't gotten any suspicion. She has no idea. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of her in the next season because I feel like there has to be something more than the fight over the Lingermore incident that separated Kat and Dell for so long. I feel like we're going to get a little bit, I feel like that's one part of the story that we haven't really dove
You
into enough.
Because I thought that was just maybe like a little bit of an anticlimactic, but like reveal, where
Yeah.
it was more that they tried to reach out, but then Vic never sent that letter, and then they thought,
Oh,
oh,
yeah, the
because you never
letter.
sent it, we'll just like keep staying distant.
I feel like it's God, I mean, boy, if my Dell seems like such a warm, forgiving person.
Hmm.
And so to not have a relationship with your granddaughter or your daughter, especially when she lost everybody else, it seems seems unlikely to me. It seems like, and so I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit more. I feel like young Cat is the sort of the least known entity right now. We've gotten to sort of know everybody else except for
Mhm.
her.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
She hasn't even been in very many episodes, that actress this season,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
So anyway, but it'll be interesting to see
I
what
mean, I
we
think there
find
will
out about
always
that.
be secrets to uncover,
Yeah.
but I wonder if there is going to be something more with them or not. I mean, but I
Yeah.
mean, because wouldn't Kat know? Just like how she said, well, I guess that would only be involved if Alice showed up. Because in this episode, Kat says, "Oh, you did come back again before I went to camp," and Alice was like, "No, I didn't." And then now we're going out of sync with
Yeah.
the story, which is interesting because I thought maybe we only do that when someone is time traveling that's not a Landry, like when Elliot got a chance to go back to something.
Oh.
But this time, we're technically in the 90s timeline. We're like already in the 2000s, like Alice is born, right? Already? Or like something
When
like
they're
that.
playing MASH and stuff?
Yeah, like no, I mean like in the 90s timeline, like they've already gone to like Brady and Kat are married.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
They're in the
there's the whole like
2000s.
Learmore thing.
Yeah, and so the Lingermore thing, like baby Alice exists, and then now Alice is
Oh,
time
you're
traveling
right.
back
I
to
forgot
a
about
time
that.
that's in the middle of that.
Yeah, because I was surprised they paid that off so fast because Kat says, "Oh, remember we're playing MASH and everything." Just the last episode, this episode, she goes there and she has that experience, and
Mhm.
she tells them, she says, "You are like my best friends. I wish that we could stay together forever." Um, so, which I think that's one of the sort of themes of the show is kind of, I think it's an interesting thing that Alice is better friends with her mom when she's a teenager than it's still the same person, you know?
Yeah. But I think the reason that she went back this time was not just to play MASH, but to talk to older Colton.
Um,
Because that's when she's there,
oh yeah,
when she's
older
on her way
Colton.
back, is when he's like, hey, wait a minute. I like recognize you.
Yeah, you're the same Alice, you're a time traveler.
Yeah. So
And
I think
so
more about that moment than, and just you luckily got to go see her teenage mom,
yeah. And I
Elliot.
guess like the rules of the pawn aren't super strict because it's just the pawn takes you where you need to go.
Yeah.
So,
So typically it's been like linear, but we've seen a few times where they've just like jumped in the middle of something, and that happens a couple times in this episode now.
yeah. So what do you think of this whole pendulum thing? Do you think that that's going to become a new like a new time traveling
I hope
device?
so. So, right, that they find another message on the clock that Elliot found that says time past and time future, and in between is the still point of now. Find me there. What? So I think it would be really cool if they could go to the future through that clock somehow. But is someone missing in time that they need to go find?
I mean, it would have to be Colton, right?
Or Elliot's real mom,
Oh, it's real mom.
right? Because the clock seemed to tie back to Elliot's mom, I thought.
Yeah, it could. It could be both.
Yeah.
I mean, I just worry that it will get too convoluted. That's my only worry is that they're going to have so many time travelers
There
and
are a lot.
so many, if it's not just the pawn anymore, if people can go through the clock. Like, I just worry that it's going to get a little unwieldy.
Yeah. I don't know if it can actually do something, or maybe if you set something, maybe it can help or assist with something. I guess we'll see. They haven't
I don't,
actually blocked so far. It's just been like a clue.
yeah, it's definitely the big unknown of this finale is what the heck is going on with the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have uh it uh so we have Alice telling so Dell says Colton had to give up his dreams for me. And then Alice tells Dell Colton would always choose you over every dream.
Yeah. I feel
So
like, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, so like it's an interesting dynamic because she has to deal with the fact that like Alice isn't saying that he didn't choose Dell over his dream. She's agreeing. Yes, he did, but he would do it every time and he would keep doing it and he would never question it. And so in a way, like that just sort of reaffirms if there's any guilt that Dell's feeling about that, it it's real, you know? She has to deal with that he did.
I feel like, uh, I feel like his dream wasn't necessarily music. I feel like that was like part of it, but his real dream was Dell. Like in the earlier episodes, he says maybe if I could get a record deal and I make money, like I could prove myself to her parents and they'll let us be together. So I think he's always been wanting to be with Dell, and the music was like a means to maybe get there.
Uh,
It's like a passion too, but I think that the dream was always Dell.
well, there was nothing more important to Colton than his family
Hmm.
ever. And so uh, and we all have to make, you know, some sacrifices in life by what we want to do. And that was one of the things that like annoyed me in La La Land is that like the idea that like this wanting to be in movies and stuff was like an undebated good, you know, that she didn't really fight for her family and her loved ones because it was like, well, there's the dream. And it's like, no, the dream is like even if you become like a famous movie star, that's never going to be satisfying if you don't have like loved ones to share it with. You know,
Hmm.
like I don't know, it just felt like the sort of morally it was a little off kilter to me that the things worth really fighting for are the relationships and then sure, yeah, that other stuff is like really cool, you know, if it could happen, but it's not I just don't know anybody that is like that satisfied. I think the myth of the dream job is like
Hmm.
truly a myth. I don't know anybody that's like really that's where they get their most of their, you know, happiness in life. Like they get it from their relationships and friendships. Sometimes those come through their job, but I don't know. I just feel like the like he's got a level head, Cold.
Yeah. And I mean, look, like family is number one to Colton, and he got to play music with his granddaughter throughout two
Yeah,
different decades. Like nobody gets to do that.
it's true.
That's really cool, you know? So I
Well,
think,
and he says that. He says, I got the chance to play music with my granddaughter in two eras.
yeah,
And he
that's
says,
that's
what if
awesome.
we stop what is happening, this road where it leads you? And if I can't know you in your time, at least I got to meet you in mine. I
Hmm.
love you and tell Jacob I love him.
Yeah. What
So
about
he
Cat?
knows.
You
He
didn't say I love
knows.
you, Cat.
What's that?
You didn't say I love you, Cat.
Oh, yeah. And please take and then he says, "Please take me to my boy." And he jumps and it takes him to the fireworks the day before Jacob
Which
goes
we had
missing.
seen in season two, a little hint of him
Yeah.
sitting there. So that was cool to get
Yeah.
to see him finally. I mean, that was his way, I guess, of being able to reunite with his son in some way.
Yeah. And so he says that just remember that I love you. And so
Mm.
then Alice leaves the wet sweater, Colton's sweater, by the side of the pond, which then
Yeah.
she finds later on.
So for everyone that thought Colton time traveled to the present day, he didn't. It was Alice was wearing his sweater from the
Yeah.
90s that he gave her and then left it there when she
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
So I like that because at first you're thinking, oh my God, he's gonna be in the future or in the present day, and it's like, no, it's just a little simpler than that. It's just a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And is that right when Alice pushes herself back in?
So that was wild.
That
So because we were all debating, we thought, is that Casey? Is that who is that? It turns out that it was Alice pushing herself into the pond.
that was cool. I've always wanted to see Alice come face to face with herself. So
Uh-huh.
they sort of did.
Yeah.
That's
So
fun.
we know that you can touch another person. There isn't some kind of,
Oh, like he'll explode.
space-time continuum or something like that. We know that.
The minute they
Uh,
touch, they both like just disappear from existence.
yeah. So Lewis wants to prosecute Jacob.
Mm.
And so Sam is over there explaining the situation.
Jacob
And
didn't even do anything. His mom
well,
stopped him.
yeah, but I guess the intent is there, and so they prosecute. That's the court. But yeah, so we have a pretty big reveal of
Mhm.
Sam standing by the pond at the end of this. And um what do we think is going on with Sam?
I mean, that's a great question.
He says everything will be okay. Jacob's gone. Everything will be okay. Um,
Did you notice that that was a parallel to the end of the first episode with Elliot in season one?
I didn't notice that. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think's going on with Sam?
Honestly, I have no idea. I feel like he's definitely somebody, like he's somebody important. He's suspicious, but is it just because we don't know who he is? Like, is he a bad guy? Because so far he hasn't actually done anything bad, and he keeps telling Dell, "You can trust me, you can trust me."
Do we feel like Sam wrote the notes though? I feel like he's a high candidate.
Honestly, anybody could have written the notes, just like anybody could have pushed Alice in.
Because it's
Maybe
somebody who
Alice
didn't
wrote the
need a
notes.
stamp.
Maybe Dell wrote the notes
Dell wrote the notes
to herself.
to herself.
I don't know. I have no idea. I guess
I,
Sam is the most likely person.
I think
Sam
he's
or
the
Casey.
well, so if Sam is a time traveler,
Hmm.
like
Or Grandma Fern from, I don't know. I'm just naming people now.
well, like so if Sam is a time traveler, then like I'm just trying to think like of who we met in the past that he could possibly be.
It would have to be someone young. But I feel like
Like,
we would like notice it because just like how we noticed the random T.S. Eliot girl.
because if he was Rick, um, wouldn't uh wouldn't uh wouldn't they
Oh
know
my
it? Wouldn't they
God.
recognize him?
No, I wouldn't. If he was Rick, I wouldn't recognize him.
Well, I wouldn't, but wouldn't Elliot when Elliot's dad, wouldn't other people?
No, maybe not. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe nobody's recognized. That's what I'm waiting for, is someone like that where it's someone from the past and we don't realize it's them, and then they reveal like maybe that's Rick Samuel Augustine.
Yeah,
That would be
I mean, that
crazy.
would be my guess right now is that it's because we also didn't we have so Sam is all involved in the Augustine um that whole crime thing, right? Wasn't that with the good
I don't think that was with the Augustines, was it?
I forget,
That
or
red
was it the
herring thing?
Goodwins?
It,
The organized crime, the mafia thing?
I don't know if it had to do with anybody in specifically. I think it was just that Sam was doing a case and there was a criminal that they were worried could they be after people close to Sam?
Thought I was with one of the families,
No.
but but I can't remember. But if he, so it's possible that he could have represented somebody who's a time traveler. That's a possibility as well. We already know he's worked with Casey. They have some kind of understanding. And so that's a possibility too.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think there's something fishy going on with Sam. I don't trust him at all.
I hope he's not a time traveler just because I feel like there's too many now, but maybe he's like an ally to the time travelers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he represented time travelers because we already know he has this client privilege relationship with Casey.
Hmm.
So
We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast, the delightful new novel by Melody Carlson, Welcome to the Honey B&B. Award-winning author Melody Carlson presents a charming contemporary novel of family, humor, and new beginnings. Jewel McCary returns to the family farm to help her aging parents to turn the old farmhouse into a charming bed and breakfast. But juggling her dad's dementia, an old flame, and troublesome neighbors is not what she had in mind when she uprooted her life. Pick up Welcome to the Honey B&B for 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com. That's 30% off and free shipping at bakerbookhouse.com.
Hmm.
it could it could
Although it
be
seemed like Casey, when they came in and revealed the information that they have that could help Jacob, it seemed like like Sam didn't know as much based off of what they told him.
uh I also feel like Evelyn knows more than we've been led to believe at this point. I don't know. I just feel like her behavior and having that painting and the way that she's acted, I just feel like we're going to find some reveals about Evelyn as well in season 4.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Otherwise, like, what was the whole point of her whole character? Just to prove Dell and Colton's love for each other? There has to be some plot point for her character.
Hmm. I guess it depends.
Otherwise, she was
He
just like a
was in a lot
waste.
of it, like Noah, is he gonna be that important? I don't know, but like Evelyn was in a lot of the season.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but like served no plot purpose as of now. So that's why I think we're going to get some kind of reveal that she knows a lot more than what we currently that she gets it. She understands. I
Yeah.
mean, she had to have. She's got like she sees Kat there. She sees the painting. She has to be starting to figure this out.
Maybe she does because Colton did. Colton
Yeah.
figured it out, and that's how he knew who Kat was when he was hit by when they had the car
Yeah.
accident. Because he started piecing together, wait, in the 80s or in the 1800s, in the 80s, in the 1800s, there was this woman, and then wait, she's the one in the painting, and wait, she was in the 70s, and that my Catherine, my daughter's Catherine. What? Like, if he
Yeah.
figured it out, I'm sure other people are figuring it out.
Yeah. So Dell says, take me to see Colton. Take me to see him. And did you feel like this was authentic to her character, that she would do this? Or did it seem a little out of character?
Well, I mean, I guess it needed to be like a big deal for her to want to jump, right?
Uh-huh.
And what was the catalyst for her saying that again? Do you remember why she said she wanted to go see him?
She because she's feeling like, oh, I ruined his life.
So she wants to jump to just talk to him?
Yeah, that I took away your dream. So that's why she wants to see him, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
It felt a
Cat
little surprising to me that
Cat
she
finds the wedding tapes for Dell and Colton's wedding and the funeral brochure and the coil demo, and then they say, right, this is proof that to Dell that he never gave up his dream for her, and then she decides to jump, right?
yeah. And she says when they get to the wedding, she says that's exactly how I remembered it.
Yeah, I think this was, well, one, it was really cool to see all three of them jumping at the same time.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
And then Colton in 1999 says that's how I remembered it. So they're both saying the same thing.
yeah, that was cute.
That was a nice moment in the script.
It's nice because you see all these people going back in time and taking away different things from what they're experiencing. And we've seen Alice talking to Dell and their fight, basically Dell being like, "You're ruining my memories." And the reality is that like, there's this person's side of the story, this person's side of the story, and something in the middle. And I think Dell was getting worried that everything that she experienced in like this beautiful time in her life when she was falling in love and getting married was not really as great as it could have been, or that, Colton has all these secrets and he doesn't really love her, he's lying, when the reality is that it was a beautiful love story and Colton didn't really know anything either. And, I guess it's so easy when you don't know what's going on to just go negative and be like, oh, this is something sinister, when really, like, it's very innocent. Colton didn't
Uh-huh.
know anything more than what we've seen about time travel. His relationship with Dell was innocent and, a real true love. And so it was nice to see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a little bit more complicated than she first thought, but like that core truth is still there. And
Yeah.
maybe even more profound because he had all of this knowledge about his life or the past, and he chose her, and he would choose her every time. Like there's like even maybe even makes it even stronger,
hmm
you
Yeah.
know? And so we have this conversation between Alice and Casey, and she says that Alice is not her mom.
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
do you think they're telling the truth? They
I'm
look
begin
they look like no.
yeah, I'm beginning to wonder if Casey is some other offspring.
Maybe she's or maybe they're Alice's granddaughter or something.
Or maybe,
Or Jacob's kid.
yeah, Jacob's child.
But the thing that I keep going back to is, why do they have the necklace that Kat and Brady had? So to me it feels like either they have to be directly related to them, or if you're going further down, like someone that's a great grandchild or something of Alice, because it was Alice's ring after. So we have to, right?
Right.
How do we
Yeah.
keep going down the line of who inherits that?
I don't know, man.
I think
I don't know. That's definitely one of the lingering questions going into season 4 for
so.
sure.
Maybe Max is not the father and Alice is not the mother, but maybe down the line there are other kids that then marry Goodwins and bring the Goodwin Landry people together.
Yeah. Well, and like we don't know anything about the ancestry in between 1816 and 1965. That would be the soonest so we don't know anything about who all had kids or what's going on, or uh, do we?
I guess not really. Because there's also like people have siblings and there's different crossovers of, maybe, I mean, we already know Susanna marries a Goodwin, but does she ever have any kids? Maybe not. Maybe her brothers do. That could be Augustines that come in and that's what leads to Elliot.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we find out
Need a
more about
need
Elliot
a
coming.
giant timeline.
Ugh.
Everybody's dates of birth, family tree. The whole
So Colton was going to tell her everything
yes.
about it, but then he says, "Why did he get in that truck?"
hmm
And as he was looking for Kat, he knew who I was.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. Ugh.
No, but like regardless, he was looking for them anyway,
Yeah.
even if Kat didn't show up in the 90s. Like he was if they didn't arrive that night, like he had gone out specifically to look for her to try to find her. So he was
Uh-huh.
gonna be on the road and maybe it would have been them, maybe it would have been somebody else.
Well, I mean, he probably wouldn't have died though, because the only reason he swerved was because Alice was in the middle of the road.
Hmm. Well, I guess it was always gonna happen.
It's wild.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
So then we have Kat telling Elliot, I love you, I want to try again. And I put you on a pedestal you couldn't live up to. You are incredible and brave.
Mhm.
And he says, that's the woman I fell in love with. And she says, I haven't loved you the right way. I took you for granted. I always assume you'll be there. And then he says, let's just love each other as we are. So, what do you think about that? Do you feel like fans are going to be satisfied with that?
I mean, I don't know how to answer that, but will they be satisfied? I don't know. Honestly, I'm since the last episode, I think I've been feeling that the Cat Elliot Thomas love triangle is getting a little like awkward because
Uh-huh.
I don't know, that whole speech she gave about you were in a season, you were a reason. I'm like, all right,
Uh-huh.
getting it from a card or something. The fact that now all of a sudden they haven't even really talked, and now they're like, well, let's give it another try. And I don't know. I think that maybe they needed some scenes in between there,
Yeah.
of them trying to like reconnect or something, because you're just coming in to give a big speech about, being put on a pedestal and, taking your relationships for granted, which I think some of it is true. Like Kat, I think definitely took Elliot for granted, but then also
Yeah.
Elliot wasn't always supportive of her either. So
Well,
I
yeah,
think
I mean
the love,
he kissed Emma
the
and
love story is not my most interesting aspect, I guess, of the show. So
yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, this is Hallmark Channel though. I mean,
yeah, but I like
a
the time travel better.
romantic network. And so that's what a lot of the listeners are going to be the most interested in.
And I don't think
I
it's
I
satisfying this season.
no, I still think that I just don't believe that that we're done with Thomas. I don't believe he's just too popular a character. I just don't think they'll do it. I just I don't know. I would be really surprised if
Yeah. And
that's
I don't know. I think at this point I'm not that interested in the love triangle for them at all. But I did think it was interesting that Elliot talked about proposing to Kat with Susanna's ring in the near future. It
yeah.
kind of felt more like she just wanted Susanna's ring because she loves Susanna
Yeah.
than actually caring about
Yeah,
Elliot.
I'm just not I just think their relationship is too much like a brother and sister and not enough like passionate love story that you want to that supersedes time and space, you know?
Yeah.
It's a problem. I don't know how they fix it. They've kind of written themselves into a corner and they've created this character that everybody like I would say 90% of the fandom loves Thomas and loves that it just really likes that actor and that, role. But what do they do? Like it's a tough situation, but I just find it hard to believe that he's really gone. And what they're doing with Ellie, it's just not working quite. It's just not 100% working.
This just made me think of something also going back to the Casey story because we were talking about, right, how we don't know all the other different generations that have come in and, even after Alice, like who's gonna marry who and it just because I know I've brought up some theory that people had online of there was some investigation in the 90s about when Jacob went missing and they brought up a Keeley coil
Oh, right, right.
and it was the KC and so that just made me think what if in the next season we see someone come into present day that is a Coil descendant just like how we've seen like in the 70s there's a coil
Yeah.
descendant. And that's maybe then like somehow they connect
Like
and maybe
if Casey is, yeah, if she is a Coil descendant,
like what if she's
if they
what if
are.
she's the descendant of all of them? Because it's like let's just say a coil comes in, they end up with someone, maybe a Landry, and then they name the kid and then whatever, and then the next generation, that person marries a Goodwin, and that's where you get the Keeley Coyle Goodwin because you now have
Yeah.
a Landry, a Coyle, and a Goodwin. Because I'm just trying to think like where would Coyle come back
Yeah.
in?
Well,
Maybe we'll get another Coyle descendant.
and we don't know what's going on with Elliot's mom
Oh my
because
gosh, we need to talk about Elliot's mom.
yeah, so the strange lady in the last episode, quoting T.S. Eliot.
Mhm.
So so Elliot shows Pat the ring. I'll find the perfect moment, Susanna's ring. And
Mhm.
then Elliot's mom wrote to Elliot, I jump for love.
Mhm.
That's what she says. And it's this T.S. Eliot poem. And that's what the stranger said, T.S. Eliot.
Mhm.
And then she had to go with a Landry. And then you see Alice or the strange girl. I'm not sure who it is.
Mhm.
It looks like it's one or the other. And a boy. There's a girl and a boy
Mhm.
jumping into the pond. And then you also see Alice or the strange girl writing the note. It's somebody that has long brown hair with some wave in it. So it's not Casey who has the shorter hair.
Mhm.
Um, and she puts the letter with the baby. Then you see the boy and the girl jumping with the baby out in front of the pond. So the two
And
people jumping, baby over here.
I was thinking the person who took the baby and brought them to the Landrys, I thought that looked like it was maybe Casey.
So yes, I agree. So the baby, I watched this like 4 times just to make sure. So the baby left at Dell and Colton's door. It looks like Casey.
I thought it was Casey. And then
Layered hair, you don't
yeah.
see for sure, but it looked
And so
like
the
them.
baby is Elliot.
So the baby's Elliot. I mean, because Dell says, "Oh, poor, oh no, poor Elliot."
But then how does that connect back to Vic Augustine? How does he now say, "Oh, I have a son and my wife left me"? That's not what happened.
Yeah. So, like, didn't we have a conversation between Dell and Vic this season?
Maybe what
Remember? I'm trying to remember what they. Oh, um, what did they say? Remember they had like a fight,
well, she was defending Elliot and he was
but
like,
there's clearly like a
getting up to,
relationship between these two. They clearly have a history, and
well, yeah,
so
because they're all neighbors. They've all known
well,
each other.
neighbors. But if they raised Elliot for a period of time or took care of it, there may be more to that going on.
Yeah. But yeah, then how did we get Elliot going from the Landry house back to the Augustine house? Like how do we know he's an Augustine? Unless maybe is it signed something about Augustine and then they're like they brought him to the Landrys, but then they're like, this must be a relative of yours, and he's like, oh yeah, I guess I like hung out with a girl once and now that must be my kid. Like is he just making these assumptions?
Maybe. I'm just seeing if I have it anywhere quick to find.
But they talked about how that poem that she wrote or that right there was like the poem it was like behind the wall, but the wall went up in the 20s they said, and the poem wasn't written until years later, like decades later. And so is this another sign that we're going to the 20s? Another sign that we're going to the 20s?
Oh, maybe.
And maybe that's also where we'll find Elliot's mom. Maybe she's stuck there.
Oh my gosh. Let me see. I'm just seeing if I have anywhere um that conversation between Del and Vic.
See if I wrote anything down.
Okay. Oh, so Del offers him a biscuit, and Landry's still thinking food can fix everything. You ruined my chance to make amends with my daughter years ago, and you have failed over and over again. If you say a discouraging word against Elliot, you'll be sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elliot says, that was amazing.
Okay. So that
So
didn't really say too much.
you ruined my chance to make amends to my daughter years ago, and you have failed over and over again. Okay, so Dell's saying that. So
Mhm.
that goes back to their estrangement.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to find out more about that in season 4, the estrangement. What really, I think there's more
I think
to it
season
than
4, we're gonna learn a lot more about Elliot. I think that's gonna be that, and I
Yes.
feel like we're going to the 20s.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Noah says, I'm home. He sends text. I'm home. Can we talk? And one thing that they do is that basically they say that the music is Alice's dream. So it's kind of her way of sort of carry on what Colton,
So
what,
like the opposite. Like
yeah,
maybe we're gonna see her not let a guy hold her back,
yeah.
go pursue her
Well,
dream.
it's like Entangled when Flynn and about the fact about the new dream. You're my
Mhm.
new dream. Well, so good. Um, yeah, it's like that. And that Dell was his new dream. And um, okay. So Jacob says maybe these letters will stop if I disappear. And so then Jacob's gone. That's when Sam is at the pond. Everything will be okay. Like, what is going on?
Jacob went to the 20s. This is gonna be the beginning.
Which it
Predicted.
would make sense because T.S. Eliot is in that was the 20s.
Yeah, so I think maybe he thinks I'm gonna go back to the 1800s, and it's gonna be like, joke's on you, Jacob. You can't choose where you want to go. The pond takes you where you need to go.
Yeah.
And you're in the 20s, and now we're gonna kick off
Oh,
this whole
man.
adventure learning about Elliot's life and
Yeah.
future.
And we do get Alice telling Max, like, I enjoyed the kiss. And he says, I enjoyed it too. So there we go. Do you
Hmm.
think, I mean, they've obviously been trying to do sort of enemies to lovers with Alice and Max. How do you feel?
I don't think we know enough about Max. I feel like we haven't seen enough of him yet.
Gonna
It's not
learn
like the
more.
instantaneous like situation when it was Nick and Alice in the 90s. That was like, oh, that's really cute.
Yeah.
I don't know about Max. I feel like we haven't learned enough yet.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be interesting. Yep. So then we get the big reveals at the end with the baby. And so it was a pretty big finale.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be fun to see what we get. We have to wait a whole year
Hmm.
to
At least
for
we're confirmed for season 4.
yeah. But I'm telling you, Hallmark Channel, you're watching this, you're listening, Christmas movie. Way
Christmas,
Home, Christmas special.
Christmas through the
It would
decades.
be a huge hit. Everybody will
Mhm.
love it.
I would watch it.
That would be amazing. Yeah, it would be, that would be a fun way to sort of tie up a few like to give like if you were going to try to give Thomas like a happy ending in New York, you could make him part of the Christmas special. That would
Mm.
be good. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's going to be interesting. So let
If they
us
could think of
know.
fun puns with the way home and Christmas.
Yes,
Play the way home for
I'll be
Christmas.
home for Christmas. Like you could
Yeah.
let us know what you think. What did you think of the episode? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. And make sure you check out our interview. It was so interesting because I got a lot of flack. People were upset that I asked Jordan if he was Team Elliot or Team Thomas. And I thought it was a fun moment of the interview, unpredictable, and everybody just had a good laugh and he enjoyed it. He even posted it on his TikTok and I checked with him to make sure it was fine. But the funny thing is that I haven't gotten any real negativity from anybody except for people that are afraid of it being perceived as negative. Being like, oh no, they're gonna come after you. And I'm like, no, they haven't. It's fine. So it's just funny. But I really enjoyed talking with them. And you should check out that interview. And the interview we did at the beginning of the season with the main cast as well is a lot of fun. So check that out. And let us know. We've got our playlist with all of our The Way Home. And thank you so much, Kristen, for doing this season with me. I really appreciate it. And where can people find you and everything you do?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun talking. We have our like weekly appointments now
Yeah, I know.
to talk about the show. You can find me at youtube.com/Kaymaldo, Kaymaldo, Kaymaldo everywhere, or my website, popcultureplanet.net. And I actually did like a little post-mortem with the showrunners, asking them some
Oh,
of
you
our burning
did?
questions. So I'm gonna have that up.
Did you ask them about Thomas?
I did ask a little bit. So
Oh my
we'll see.
gosh.
We'll
I
see
can't
what
wait to watch that.
it's gonna be a lot
That'll
of.
be
I had a million questions,
Oh my
but
gosh.
I'll have
Wow,
that up
that's
soon.
cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to watching that. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We really, really appreciate it. It only takes a second and it's free and it helps us so much to get those reviews. And we have the patron group, which is the biggest way you can support everything that we're doing. And we get to have a lot of fun group chats, and you get to be part of watch alongs. We have a new watch along happening in March. We're talking with Alicia Lomas Gross about her movie. We're going to watch Perfect Harmony that she wrote. And she's a patron, so it's kind of a fun, special watch along. And then we have the merch store where we have Way Home inspired merch. We love the pond shirts. So check that out and make sure if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. And there we go, everybody. Congrats on the end of season 3. Yeah.
Season 4. Season 4.
Woo-hoo.